Every school has that one classroom. It's been locked up for years, supposedly because of mold or asbestos. At my school, it was room 302. I always saw it as a potential sanctuary, a place no one would think to look. And today I was about to find out if I was right. The lockdown alarm blared through the halls right as I was walking past the old, abandoned wing. The protocol was clear. Get to the nearest active classroom and lock the door. But the closest one was a good 100 yards away, down a long, exposed hallway. I'd be a sitting duck. My hand went to my pocket, and my fingers closed around the cold, familiar metal of the master key ID swiped from the principal's office months ago when I was an office assistant. A stupid, impulsive decision back then, but right now, it felt like the only thing that could save me. Without a second thought, I jammed the key into the lock of room 302. It clicked open. I slipped inside, slammed the heavy door shut, and turned the lock behind me. My heart was pounding against my ribs. The air in the room was thick and still, heavy with the smell of dust and decay. Desks and chairs were piled high in the center of the room, like a strange wooden bonfire waiting for a match. I scrambled behind the stack, my back pressing against the dusty wood, and fixed my eyes on the frosted glass of the door. I just needed to wait this out, then a shadow slid past the glass. It moved fast. Another one followed, just as quick, just as silent. Their movements were tactical, too quiet for panicked students. Was it the police, or was it them? The reason for the lockdown? I held my breath, trying to make myself smaller, invisible. The silence stretched on, broken only by the frantic thumping of my own heart. As the minutes ticked by, my eyes slowly adjusted to the gloom. And that's when I saw it. On one of the desks near the wall, sitting perfectly arranged, was a meal. A plastic school lunch tray, but the food on it was steaming hot. Beside it, a set of real, polished silverware. My blood ran cold. Who eats a hot meal in a condemned classroom? My gaze drifted from the tray to the walls. The story was black mold, but what I saw wasn't mold. The walls were covered, floor to ceiling, in Polaroid photos. Hundreds of them, maybe thousands, pinned up in neat, obsessive rows. I crept closer, my fear turning into a sickening dread. Each photo was of a student from my school. Some were candid shots in the hallway, laughing with friends. Others were taken during gym practice or at lunch. My stomach churned when I saw pictures of students sitting in their own homes, clearly taken from outside, through their bedroom windows. They thought they were safe. They had no idea someone was watching. My eyes scanned the horrifying gallery, a sea of familiar faces frozen in moments of private life. Then I saw it, a photo of me. It couldn't be. My hair was the same, my clothes were the same. It was me from today. The picture showed me walking down the hallway, just outside this very room. The photo was taken no more than 10 minutes ago. A floorboard creaked directly behind me. I froze, every muscle in my body screaming to run, but I was paralyzed. A voice, a dry, raspy whisper, drifted down from the corner of the ceiling. I told them the door was supposed to stay locked. I slowly tilted my head up. In the far corner, a small crawlspace hatch in the ceiling was slightly ajar. A pair of eyes stared down at me from the darkness within. It was the school new security consultant, the man hired just this year to upgrade our safety protocols, the man who was supposed to keep us safe. He hadn't been checking the perimeter for threats. He'd been building a life for himself inside the school's walls. And it all clicked into place. The lockdown alarm, it wasn't a drill. It wasn't an outside attack. They were looking for a missing staff member. They were looking for him. He had turned our school into his own private hunting ground, his own twisted gallery. I hadn't hidden in an empty classroom. I had just locked myself inside his living room. I watched the little green dot on the Find My Friends app. It was moving through the school hallway. And it was stopping right outside my classroom door. The problem? The person who owned that phone was sitting right next to me, shaking. Someone else had his bag. And they were using his ID to unlock the school, door by door. It was the last week of school, and the atmosphere was lazy, you know how it is. So when the lockdown alarm first hit, we all thought it was a senior prank. Our teacher, Mrs. Gable, didn't even look up at first. She just told us to get in the corner while she finished her emails. But then the intercom didn't play the usual recording. Instead, we heard a struggle, a muffled shout, the sound of a chair flipping over, and then just static. A terrible, empty static. Mrs. Gable's face went white. She lunged for the door and turned the deadbolt just as the hallway lights were cut, plunging everything into an eerie half-light. We were in total darkness except for the emergency exit signs. 10 minutes into the suffocating silence, my friend Leo let out a gasp. He realized his backpack was missing. He'd left it in the cafeteria during lunch. His phone, his wallet, and most importantly, his electronic school ID were all inside. This was bad, really bad. Our school had just installed these new smart locks on all the classroom doors. They were supposed to make us safer, but they opened with a simple swipe of those IDs. My hands were shaking as I pulled out my phone. Leo and I shared our locations, so I opened the app and we watched his GPS. The little green dot was stationary in the cafeteria for what felt like an eternity. Then it started moving. It crawled across the school map on my screen. It traveled toward the science wing, our wing. My heart was pounding in my chest. We heard something from the hallway. A faint beep click like a hotel room key. It was the room next door. Screams erupted, sharp and terrified, then were cut off by a heavy silence that felt even worse than the noise. My eyes were glued to my phone. The green dot moved again, maybe 10 feet. It was now directly on top of our room's icon. We all stared at the door handle, holding our breath. We heard the electronic reader on our own door chirp. The small light on the handle turned from red to green. The door began to creak open, but Mrs. Gable didn't scream. She threw her entire body weight against the door just as it opened an inch, her shoulder slamming into the wood. With her other hand, she jammed a heavy metal wedge, one of those old-fashioned doorstops, under the frame. The person on the other side started kicking, hard. The wood was splintering, and we could see the black tip of a boot forcing its way through the crack near the floor. We all scrambled back, pressing ourselves against the far wall. Then, just as suddenly as it started, the kicking stopped. We heard the heavy thud of boots running away down the hall. Shouts echoed from the other end. The police had arrived. When they finally cleared our room, they told us they'd caught a man in the stairwell. He had Leo's ID in his pocket. He wasn't a student, he wasn't a parent, and he wasn't there for money. The police said he had been using that ID to unlock his way through the school, almost like he was playing a twisted video game, just looking for the one room, the one door that didn't have a wedge ready.